Hey guys, welcome back. So I have a big old box of plants and another box of plants. I don't know what was going through my head, not just like by ordering plants. I did purge a lot of plants last week and I will be purging more plants later this week. I didn't plan to film today, which I don't know what was going through my head because I knew the plants were coming today. So I wasn't really prepared to film. That's why I look like I just crawled out of a dumpster. But I figured while I was grabbing the plants, on the drive home, I made a game plan. This is going to be a 2-part filming session. Today we're going to unbox said plants and then we're going to repot them at a later day because I don't even have substrate mix. It's just going to be an unboxing for today. Repot will come later in this video. It's going to be the same video. So I ordered 7 plants on the Palm Street app, formerly known as Plant Story. This video is not sponsored, although I will be I'll be checking the, got compensation for it because you know how like when you invite people and they sign up and you get credits on your account. Well, I had all these credits to spend and then they saw that I was shopping around in the live sales. So they topped me up a little bit to just make it a good haul. And I hope I've done it justice because I'm pretty excited about this haul. I think it's gonna be a good haul. So I have in here, it's quite a big box. This is not all my plants, but I have plants from Woohoo Tropicals and I have a very special plant from Lauderdale Aeroid House. The Lauderdale plant is just mine. This box from Woohoo is a mixture of my plants, Charmaine's plants, and Jing's plants, so I won't be opening theirs. I'll open Jing's probably off camera. By the way, Palm Street hasn't launched in Canada yet. I do think it's still slated for later this year. So we ordered them to a US like holding area and we picked it up from there since we're so close to the border. And big thank you and shout out to Anna who went there to pick it up for us. I met up with her earlier today and I got these plants from her and I did take a little bit of a footage of what she purchased from Fontanimal House, so I'll insert that later after. So basically I was like looking at my credits on the account kind of grow as like the referrals were coming in, and I was just like, I had 2 plants in my brain. I was on a mission to get another Carla and red crystallinums. So first stop was Woohoo Tropicals. I have a lot of Woohoo plants. They all grow like freaking weeds. Like the fact that I have a Carla from them that we got in like late October, November last year, and now it's flowering, that's just blows my mind. So needless to say, I was really determined to get some plants from them. I got 6. If you don't know Woohoo, they're located in Houston, Texas. I'm pretty sure most people who watch my videos know Woohoo by now. But the really nice thing about Woohoo plants, I think the benefit is, okay, first of all, Paulina and Josh are my favorites to watch on a live stream. They're the most it just feels like you're hanging out with them. It's not just like sell. I don't know, it just feels very homey. There's a lot of regulars there. Everyone seems to know each other. It's just like a very nice atmosphere. So I actually end up staying on Woohoo Lives the longest. Like I don't really feel the desire to click off and click onto somebody else. So I really highly recommend them on that platform. And another nice thing is that because they're in Texas, they're in it's like not outdoor, it's a greenhouse, but it's like kind of open to the elements. It's not high humidity is what I'm trying to get at. So when you get plants from Woohoo, you're not like, oh, it needs to immediately go into a bin. In fact, tonight and until I get to potting them up, I'm gonna just have them out here. And Lauderdale Aeroid House, I think you would guess that they're located in Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So Justin and Janina are the sellers and they sell Rory Antilax plants. So I was able to get one of Rory's plants from them. They're also actually very easy to watch. I'm kind of picky about who I watch on live streams. I'm sure a lot of you are the same way where you just jive with some personalities. And I just feel like Justin and Janina are just really easy to get along with. They're like very straightforward, very chill. I just think it's a good balance between the people who are there just to buy plants and people who are there just to hang out. I think they strike a really nice balance there, and obviously their plants are freaking amazing. I'm gonna throw in some B-roll I took of one of their recent lives where they were selling not the plant that I got, but they were selling plants that they had picked up from Doc Block. So there was like hybrids that I hadn't seen before. There was like I hadn't even heard of it, Brown Derby cross Michelle, I think it was, and it was huge. And there was another there was Dark and Handsome, which I hadn't seen for sale. And Justin, I believe, goes to Doc Block's greenhouse and like handpicks ones to sell on his lives, which is really cool. And on top of that, it's just like all of Rory's hybrids. Anyways, so that's the background of the plants, and let's just get unboxing because I'm so itching to get these open. So Pauline has really kindly labeled all the plants because we got some of the same plants. So just to avoid having to like fight over who gets what, I just asked her to decide for us and just put our names on whatever plants. And this way we're just kind of leaving it up to fate. I also ordered 3 of the same plant. I don't know which ones they are because they're not labeled on the outside what the plants are. So it might come up again. By the way, in case anyone is wondering, I will be purging more anthuriums. Basically, my tent is full. Like, it's at maximum capacity. The plants are also getting bigger, so that's just further. Like, the other day, I pulled out a bunch of plants to, like, just properly check the roots and do a little bit of a tidy. And I don't know how they were in there in the first place. I couldn't get them all back in, so I ended up pulling a lot of them to sell. So their plants are all shipped in their, this is the, I believe, the HP High Porosity Myco Mix. It's so cute. Okay, so this is one of one that I got. It is covered in poly, but do you see how round and cute it is? So this one is Ace of Spades crossed with Eastern Dressleri. I'm gonna pop in the parent plants here, and their Eastern Dress I think is like one of the nicest I've ever seen. It is obviously super dark, but other ones I've seen just aren't as round and like as pillowy. It looks kind of like a duvet. All the leaves are just really, really fat and round. And obviously, I'm hoping to get ones that look like that fat, round Eastern Dress that they have. So I asked if she could pick us ones that are just on the rounder side. I'm quite certain that all the offspring are going to be quite dark. So I wasn't going for exceptionally dark. I'm just going for exceptionally fat. And I do think this looks really promising. Like, look at this older leaf. It's just like a kidney bean. It's so round, and actually it's really, really dark for a leaf this young. This leaf is a newer leaf, so I think it can still darken over time, but can you just look at the venation? Or actually just look for the venation. It's like not even visible. It's so cute. I'm so excited to grow this one out. We ordered an extra one of these for Anna just as a thank you for going down across the border for us. And I saw hers when we were when she unboxed them at the shop, and that one was really cute too. All of them have like no veins. I don't think I will have anything quite like it. This one feels a little bit bigger. I wonder if it's the one I added on later. Nope. It is one of the 3 red crystals I got. So this one is Red Crystallinum Wu 5 crossed with Wu 8. There's just different numberings for different red crystallinums that they have as mother plants. Again, for this one, I just asked that she choose ones with red venation or like red emergent leaves, like ones that just were showing more red. And this one looks like it's going to be very thick veined. Like, you can see how thick they are. It kind of reminds me a little bit. I'm gonna show you real quick, hopefully without damaging anything. It reminds me of this Carla leaf. This one's also from Woohoo Tropicals. This one's the Woo 2. Do you know what I mean? Like really thick, like trident looking leaves. Oh, I love it. I was like, I'm going to get a strong, healthy red crystallinum if it's the last thing I do. So that's why I ordered 3. This one, judging by the size, I think is another red crystal. And it is, oh, it's so cute. Oh, I just want to throw it at the wall. Look at it. Look at how cute it is. This one looks like it's going to be super veiny too, which is pretty much exactly what I want. First of all, I want red, but I want really thick, bright, just super bold veins. That one looks like it's going to fit the bill. When it's at this age, it's kind of early. Sometimes you can see bright coloration on the very young plants, but it's not really till later that the colors start to come out. So you could still get quite a red crystallinum, a red crystallinum, I should say, out of one that isn't showing that much red. But on this one, it's quite a young leaf, and you can see how red the midrib is, just right down the center. This one is skinny. I wonder if it's, Okay, I need to confess. I need to confess something. So I've been pretty enamored by orchids lately. It's been a slow burn. It's been kind of simmering here for a while, and when one of my orchids flowered and it had this most beautiful like dark bat-like flower, I was just like, oh no, you guys don't let me buy orchids. I just don't have the space for them. But I decided I'm going to give Orchid Girl another shot, which means that I have to get rid of a lot of Hoya. So last week I got rid of like, I think it was like six Hoya mother plants, just the whole plant gone, really big plants too. And I want to convert my Hoya cabinet into like a partial Hoya / orchid cabinet. This one is an orchid. This is, it's a Phalaenopsis, which I don't have. I don't have like barely any orchids. I only have two orchids in total. And I don't have any Phalaenopsis, which I think is pretty basic when it comes to orchids, but I just thought the leaves were so cute. So this one is, did I already say Phalaenopsis schilleriana? This is the silver leaf kind. There's one that has more kind of like you know where the dark is? It's more like banded, and this one is way cuter in my opinion. Oh my gosh, this leaf is so cute. It looks like, I mean, it kind of looks like a diseased tongue, but in a really pretty way. This one has it has like the Phalaenopsis flowers. It's like pale pink, but they come in like clusters. So there's a whole bunch of blooms all in one little flower spike, I guess is what you call it in orchid talk. Brian Wu, who owns Woohoo Tropicals, is like he's like an orchid guy. So there was a lot of orchids. They were also selling ones that were more of the mounted kind. You just put it on a board and you water it every day. I was like, I'm not there. I'm not quite there. There was one that they were showing that was just roots and flowers. It kind of reminds me of the Hoya spartioides, I think it's called, which is just peduncles. There's no leaves. And I was like, that seems like next tier orchid collecting. So I'm going to start with something what I think is kind of basic, which is a Phalaenopsis, but it's very, very freaking adorable. I am like really freaking excited to have this and a little bit scared for orchid collecting, but I will be like very, very, I'll pace myself, which means that I'm not just going to buy every orchid I see. I'm going to be very selective. I will try to put what I've learned about plant collecting in the past to good use. So I will just be like very selective about what I bring in. And for now, because of spatial constraints, I'm gonna get ones that I like the foliage of as well as the flower. Flower being the first priority, but the foliage I have to like it because like who knows if I can even get them to flower. So like flowerless, I want to still be able to look at it fondly. This one is potted in sphagnum moss. So I will probably get it into like a tree fern, maybe bark, bit of soil. I don't know, maybe a heavy tree fern soil maybe. It looks like new leaves are forming right in the center there. I think, I don't know, is that called a crown? I truly don't know anything about orchids, okay? I'm going to be learning. I did read up on this. There's a guy with a blog called Here But Not. A lot of you probably know about him. He's in Calgary and he grows all his plants in ambient conditions and it's really dry in Calgary. And he grows some orchids and he has a whole write-up about this. So I'm gonna just, before I learn myself for my own experience, I'm just gonna follow his kind of instructions on how to get this thing to be happy and also bloom. One thing I did read is that this plant appreciates sharp wet dry cycles. So like bone dry for a couple days, then wet, but not sitting in water pretty much ever. So definitely drainage holes for this. And I guess we'll see if this orchid obsession continues. Oh, by the way, one thing that I read in the Here But Not write-up about this is that when he adjusted his pH down, because he has very high pH in his tap water, when he started to pH down it, when he started to adjust and make the pH a little bit lower, these short little leaves turned into these like really long paddles, like super, super long drapey things, which was very fascinating and I want to try that. I honestly wasn't really sure how I would feel when I was Like I added this on because I just wanted to like add on and bulk up the box. And I was like, okay, so let's try an orchid from an orchid place. And Woohoo is like technically like their logo is an orchid, right? So this one was the one that I found the most intriguing, and I honestly didn't think I would be so giddy about it when seeing it, but when I just look at this, it just makes me super happy. Like really, really freakishly happy. Okay. Who would have thought I would be the most excited about an orchid? Found another one of mine. This one feels, maybe it's another red crystal. I did get 3. So we've got one more left. Oh, it's big. It is the red crystal. This is way bigger than I thought it would be. Oh my gosh. It's so stinking cute. Do you see how bullied it is? The veins are quite red. I did FaceTime her, or like not FaceTime, but video call her before to kind of start the process of picking out plants. But in the end, where I was just like, you know what? I trust you to choose ones that are good, and this one looks so cute. And do you see the leaf size jump from this one to this one? And to be so bullied at such a young age, that looks really promising. So this one, oh, I didn't say what the other red crystal was. So the first one was Wu 5 Wu 8, and this one is, oh, I guess this one is one they weren't sure about, but it's one of their red crystallinums selfed. And then this one is their Wu 5 red crystallinum selfed. Hold on while I just check their mother plants, because there was one in particular that I thought would be my favorite as like a mother plant. It is Wu 5. Yes. So this one is Wu 5. It has a nice mixture of like those messy kind of lightning bolt veins in between and really bumpy but nice thick veins. So this one is this selfed. Okay, I think I'm hunting for one more. Oh, obviously, it's this really long one. Okay, so by process of elimination, I know what this one is. This one is one I added on kind of later at the end after we kind of made our initial order. And this one is one I never owned this plant before. This is a plant that scares me, to be quite honest. I think that they're quite finicky, but they have been carrying these for quite a long time. I'm going to be asking her tips on how to keep this thing alive, because I've seen these things just go down the drain so quickly, and they seem difficult, and it's kind of hard to find this plant. Oh my gosh. It's stunning. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. When I first started watching Woohoo Lives, these are the plants I would always be staring at in the background. I'm like, show the Hoopersia. So this one is a Hoopersia carinata soy sun. It's the Hoopersia of my dreams. I love it so much. I am so scared that I won't be able to keep this thing alive. What I've read about them is that they like to not be ever dry. Does that make sense? They never like to dry out. I think it's a good candidate for self-watering. I think what I would probably do is some sort of no drainage, self-watering tree fern soil setup. But I will have to take a look at the roots. I don't even know what the roots would be like. I'm assuming, oh, it feels so nice. I'm kind of assuming the roots on these would be on the fine side. It's so freaking soft. These little leaves they look like they'd be spiky, but they're really soft, and it just feels really nice to run your hands down them. I will be growing this in high humidity, so I'm going to probably put it in one of my exos, maybe my tent, maybe my exo, but I'm not going to grow this out in ambient conditions, at least until I feel pretty confident about it. But yeah, she picked me such a nice one. She had sold a few in live when I was on there, like kind of looking at plants to add on to. So that's the live where I added on the orchid. And she had sold some of these. There was like different sizes, but she had sold some for $45, some for like $75. And I was like, I think I was cooking. I'm pretty sure I was cooking, and I just, my hands were wet. I might have been baking. I don't remember. But I couldn't get to the phone to like ask for it, and they all sold. So I asked her if she could, or if she had any more in the $45 range, and she did. If anyone is buying from Woohoo, see if they have any more of these, and we can experience this journey together. Oh, there's new growth at the bottom too. It looks like it's starting a new vine, a new tassel right here at the base. So this one's probably going to be the only one of everything from Woohoo that I'm not going to have out here. I'm going to give this a nice good drink, or just like make sure that this moss gets dampened again or wet. And then I'm probably going to either pop it in. I'll pop it into my EXO, I think. I'll give this a nice little hose down, because this one I'm the most nervous about. And I can't believe I almost forgot that I had planned on ordering a Hubersia from Woohoo pretty much since I ever planned on ordering from Woohoo. And I almost forgot. If she hadn't shown these in the live, I would have completely forgotten that I've been meaning to get one specifically from Woohoo. So it was very fortuitous, and thank you so much for picking me such a stunning specimen. Like, it looks so healthy. So if anything happens to this, it was 100% me. I really hope nothing happens to it. So yeah, that's my Woohoo haul. You're gonna see these plants again in a few days when I repot them up. Now this box is just full of Charmaine's plants and Jing's plants. They're just right here. I'll probably open Jing's plants tonight just to show her what they look like, and just so they can get some light and maybe some water if the substrate's damp. They feel pretty heavy though, so I don't think it actually needs water, but I do think they would appreciate some light. And then I'm going to see Jing later this week, so I'll give it to her then. And then Charmaine's going to pick hers up later today, which is great because I don't have space for any extra plants. Lastly is, you guessed it, a Carla Blackier. So I am so impressed by the packaging of this. This is not a cheap plant, and it's a tiny, tiny plant, and there's so much cushioning on here. I didn't ask for a heat pack, but there is a heat pack in here. It's still warm. I asked for specifically overnight shipping, and this thing is taped to the box. I'm actually having a hard time removing this from the box because it's really on there. So this one is going to be a really small one, and I'll tell you why. Oh, it's domed and everything. This is gonna go into another dome later, so I'm just gonna cut the whole thing off. I'm not gonna put this cup back on. This is taped on there so, like, this thing is not gonna move. It is so securely packaged. Okay, so it's a little bit yellow, but I wanna just, okay, I need to preface this. Rory released a batch of Carla Blackier's seedlings, like germinated seeds as well as seedlings. I think he did germinated seeds. So this is Carla 1 crossed with Carla 16. So for anyone who's not an anthurium person, I'm sure there's a non-anthurium person watching. The numbers just are to identify which mother plant. So the same thing as like Woohoo's Woo 5 red crystallinum. Rory numbers his plants. So it was like PAP 5, PAP 10, PAP 6, Carla 1. So this one is 1 crossed with 16, and I specifically wanted this because I really like 16. I wanted a Carla with very thin veins, so I'm just hoping that it takes it on. You know, still a bit of a lottery. I've never seen a plant packaged so securely. Like, this is very impressive. So anyway, this is literally like the last seedling from this batch. So when he sells the plants, he goes in order of like largest to smallest. So whoever orders sooner will get the bigger seedlings. So this is probably the smallest of the batch. I wouldn't call it a runt, just kind of based on what it looks like right now. And I'm sure like Rory wouldn't sell runts. It could have been that it was like harvested the latest off of the infructescence. That sometimes happens. Sometimes if you have it growing in a communal pot for longer, it takes a lot longer to size up compared to ones that you pot into individual pots sooner. So had I gotten one earlier, it would have been bigger, but I'm just happy to have it. I'm just happy to be invited to the party. This is the most meticulous packaging I have literally ever seen. They've got paper towel just covering the substrate. Ooh, it looks like a nice substrate. Looks like Might be orchiata. It kind of looks like classic orchiata. Perlite. It could be pond or just zeolite. Could just be zeolite. Because I don't really see lava rock. Do I? Hard to tell. It's really, really wet and dark. So this leaf is a little yellowy. This is the newer leaf. It got a little bit ripped, but it looks healthy. It looks like it's still expanding. I got a little photo prior to me buying it, prior to them shipping it. And it was like, I think, yeah, it was just emerging. I'm just happy to have it. I'm so happy to have it. Where did the tag go? I can't lose it. Okay, here. So here it is in case I forget. As I get older, my memory is getting worse and worse. And it's kind of alarming. I would definitely actually repot this. I'll probably keep it in, I like this substrate. I might keep it in the same substrate, but just put it into a clear pot so I can monitor the root growth. And this is gonna go straight into my dome with my other Carla tonight. But I am so relieved. I was so paranoid that something was gonna go wrong with these shipments. And it's not like the same, it's not quite the same as when you just order plants and it gets delivered to your house. Like it's someone's time to drive across the border. Like even though you're allowed to bring plants across the border, you could get someone who doesn't know what they're talking about and like just confiscate things for no reason. So many things could have gone wrong and I was so sure something was going to go wrong, but luckily everything made it. Everything looks fantastic. These plants don't even look like they've gone through shipping. I am so smitten with this Huperzia. It's not even funny. I mean, like, what are you doing in my house? I've been wanting one of these for so long. I honestly would have filled my house with fake Huperzia because it's not easy to find these here. I don't know if they're easy to find where you are, but there's not a lot of growers of these and you just don't find them anywhere. Probably because they're kind of finicky. And one of the only other options is importing it, which I feel like in what I've observed from other people, a lot of times they don't make it when you import them. So I'm so happy. I'm so proud of myself that I remembered to buy one of these. This thing was the smallest, but this was the main course. I just really hope that it ends up being a really thin veined Carla because I have like thicker veined Carlas. I just want one with like really pinstripe venation. But only time will tell. Let's hope I can keep it alive. So yeah, that's the unboxing. I literally have no idea when I'm going to repot these. Could be 2 days from now. Could be next week. This week looks pretty busy for me right now. Not that that makes any difference to you because we're going to cut right to it. So see you then.
My child.
So these are from Fontanimal. Sorry, the audio is really bad. I don't have focus on the card.
Fontanimal.
Yeah, so you got these auction?
Yeah. This is the BVEP cross Portlet cross Ralph Lineham Fort Sherman.
It's so long and so dagger-like.
Look at the old leaves.
How much did you get this for?
This one, I think, butt cut. I think I got it for like $92, $93.
It's gonna be US dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so pretty. I think that's your favorite one, right?
Yes, This is the one that I was like, oh, I need it immediately. And then since I knew I was getting a package, I was like, well, let's just add another baby in, another long and pointy boy.
It's so long and so pointy. And what's this one?
This is the Fort Sherman Cross Leland.
And Leland is not velvety.
I know. I'm surprised that it looks the way it does. You can kind of see on this one, it's doing that kind of like in between velvet.
Oh, okay.
But I would say it leans more velvety than I thought.
This feels pretty much hardened off.
Yeah. And it's almost the same as this. Maybe just slightly less velvety as the other one, but it's so close to.
This sinus though, so nice. It has been 6 days. Last week kind of got away from me, which in hindsight is probably a good thing because I was able to monitor the plants. They're doing great. They're ready to be potted up. I ended up putting the woohoo plants in a bin, but without the lid like fully on, just in case. I wanted to see if it would root faster in there. Could you even see? It's like this. It's mixed in with some of my seedlings, with the exception of the Huperzia, which has just been hanging out in that exo here. I really soaked this moss because I spoke to Paulina like right after filming and I was like, can you just like confirm or deny? I had read that they don't like to dry out. Do you just keep it constantly wet? And she said yes. Brian's #1 rule for these plants is never let them dry out. So I think I can manage that. I'm feeling okay about it. I can't tell if it's grown. I feel like it might have, I'll have to look back on the footage, but I feel like this little bit has kind of gotten a little bit bigger. I don't know for sure, but I think that little growth at the bottom has gotten bigger. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. And then the Carla has just been living in a propagation dome. This substrate was pretty wet when I got it, so I only just gave it like a couple teaspoons of water, kept it in here. This new leaf has expanded slightly in the last week, but I definitely want to repot it because you can see how far above the substrate it is, and obviously I want it in a clear pot so I can monitor root growth. I might keep it in somewhat of the same substrate, but I kind of want to introduce some tree fern into there because I just need this to survive. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get interrupted while filming this repot because today is Monday. What day is it? The 13th? Rare Plant Fairy is going live on Palm Street. They're going live with Doc Block and selling some releases, and I feel like I read that they're already all sold out because they went live on their Rare Plant Fairy app first an hour and a half or an hour ago, and they were releasing the first US release of Black Widow Michelle. I know that they had released Black Widow Michelle in Europe, I don't know how long ago, maybe like a month or two ago, and Black Widow is my wish list plant, but specifically a Black Widow that looks like Black Widow because this really spidery, wiry veins are quite recessive. I think like just a small percentage of Black Widow seedlings end up looking like Black Widow. So I do want to check out that live. But in saying that, I wanted to give, this is not really to do with this repot, but this is my Carla crossed with Black Widow Michelle that I got from Buzz Plants, which Buzz Plants is not on the app yet, as far as I'm aware, but Brendan does sell his plants through Rooted Rarities, who is on the Palm Street app. So this has been, I've seen them sell this hybrid, but this is one of the two that I got from Brendan, what was it, like a month ago? I can't remember. Time is such a blur. But this is one of two, and the other one did die. But this one has been rooting really well. There's like, it's not like the fattest roots ever, but it has been doing fine, I think, in tree fern soil. But this leaf wasn't here when I showed this plant last, and it does look quite promising. Like the veins are really skinny. I do think it has potential to end up looking quite a lot like Black Widow, but with like a hint of Carla. So if I don't get one from the Palm Street app, which I feel like they're probably all super sold out, unless they held it back for Palm Street, I don't really know. And also I'm thinking from like a grower's perspective, if they end up having offspring from that batch that looked quite a lot like Black Widow, would they even release them all? Like I feel like they would hold a lot of it back. So I'm not getting my hopes up too high. So at the very least I have this. And I think this one's just going to be an absolute stunner. Like no matter which direction it goes, if it goes the Carla direction or if it goes the Black Widow Michelle direction, I think either way is going to look really pretty. But in saying that, they are going live in about an hour and I might have to be interrupted for that. It all really depends on how this repot goes. I don't know how to really set this up so you can see me and the plants. I feel like this might be the best that I can do. And I still don't have a proper potting setup for here. I think what I need is just like a little table that's designed to be like low to the ground that I can also fold up. So I understand that's a pretty tall order. So in the meantime, I'm just going to be potting on top of a bin that I'm acclimating plants in. Let's do the Woohoo anthuriums first because these are all going to go in the same mix. So there's four. So these ones are just in, I think, straight up Pro-Mix High Porosity Myco Mix. All the red crystals, I can see roots kind of growing out the side of the pot. I watered this like lightly when I first got it, but there are some roots here, but it hasn't really filled out this pot. So I think these will still fit into my small square pots. This one has roots kind of growing down to the bottom. This one I haven't seen any roots yet. This is the Ace of Spades Eastern Dressleri. It's so cute. I really hope that it just keeps like the invisible vein thing. So I do think they'll all fit into this size pot, and I will just sit them inside of these little yogurt cups, let them root out, and I'll upsize them later. We're not going full boat mode because I'm looking at my tent. There's no space. I can maybe fit like 1 or 2 plants, and they're all going into tree fern soil. I do have a fresh bin mixed up. I would typically, like last time when I got woohoo plants, I just mixed their soil into like my tree fern soil. But since I quite like the ratios of like the bin that I just mixed up, I'm going to just dump all of their soil into this bowl, kind of let it dry out, and then dump that into my mix later and add more tree fern, add more bark and stuff like that. Actually, probably makes sense for me to, nope, I don't want to do that. I was going to empty all the pots into that and then have like all the, actually maybe I could do that. The reason why I was hesitant to do that is because like these are all different red crystals. So I'll just have to make sure I line them up perfectly with the tag so I don't get them mixed up. So Ace Eastern Dress is pretty obvious. Not pretty obvious, very obvious. This one is Woo 5 crossed with Woo 8. This one has a bit of moss in here, which I will just kind of get rid of. Not that it's going to be damaging to leave it in there, but I just don't really want it there. This one is just the right size for that small pot. Any bigger of a root system, I'd probably have to put it into a bigger pot. So lay you down with your tag. This one is, oh, Woo 5 Self. Yes, this one's the one that I was most excited about. Yeah, so from the looks of this, they germinate seeds in moss and then they plonk the whole germinated seed, tiny seedling into a larger pot. I'm assuming once it starts growing foliage or like maybe when it's onto like the second leaf, put you here. I mean, worst case scenario, if I forget, then I can just look back on the footage. So this one is the one where they're not sure which red crystallinum, but it was selfed. And the reason why these are all different sizes is because they're not the same age. Okay, so that's all 4 released. I just realized I didn't mix my great white yet. Dang it. I always forget something. I know I always get questions on like how much do you add. I have this little shaker from when I first bought it. The very first time I tried great white, and it was like 1 ounce container, and that was all that was available in Canada. But I just keep refilling it because it's so much easier. Because if you had it in a container, like the jar, every time you open it, it just like kind of puffs out and you start breathing it in. Not that I think that it's bad for you necessarily, but I don't like to, it's like so much messier that way. And I know that some people will mix their own, not mix their own, put the jar of great white into like a spice shaker like this. The only thing I will say is I've read that great white or mycorrhizae doesn't like to be exposed to light, and it can maybe damage the shelf life of the product. So if you do that, like, and it's a clear spice shaker, just try to like, I don't know, tape it off or make it opaque so that light doesn't get in. So yeah, that's my story. I'm gonna do leca on the bottom as usual. Just because like if I'm using this, I'm not gonna have it just sitting straight on the floor of wherever it's sitting. So I'm going to like probably have runoff. So I have runoff, then I'm gonna have to have a saucer. So if I'm gonna have a saucer, I might as well keep a bit of a reservoir for anthuriums. Just because like when they're this small of a pot, they just dry out a little bit faster. Okay, we'll do the Ace Eastern Dress first. You know, it's probably best if I go headless so you guys can actually see. Oh my gosh, that is so much better. Just gonna push the roots to the front so I can monitor their growth like that. So I've been thinking a lot more about traveling these days just because like, I don't know, I was just like thinking about like young me and how often I used to travel. I know it was like the economy was different back then. I didn't have a mortgage, and it just like, I don't know, I had more support from my parents because obviously I was a kid. But I just feel like I used to just get up and go. You know how sometimes Facebook will like give you a memory of like something you posted on your timeline years ago? And you know how like back in the day, Facebook used to just be like kind of like Twitter, I guess. Like you post on your wall and like people comment on your post of, you're just like, I'm currently at a restaurant, I'm eating soup. And then one came up where I was like, I was in school. I know I was like at the age where I was in university, and I must have like had finals or something. So I basically had done an all-nighter, wrote my final, then got on a flight to New York. It was a red eye, and then I got there at 7 a.m. and then just like shopped for 9 hours. So I was running, what I wrote was I was running on 40 hours without sleep. And I was like, I could not do that now. But at the same time, bravo me for having just the energy to live life like that. This one is done, by the way. I'm just like, while I was potting, you couldn't see, but this leaf I'm just so in love with. This dark little velvety bean tag in. So yeah, I've been thinking about like trying to prioritize travel, and I know for this year we were gonna go back to the UK in July, but we decided in the end, like, this flights are so expensive, everything is so busy, it's just going to be a lot more crowded. So why don't we just go right before Christmas or something like that instead? Use that money we save on flights and just have a better time in general when there's less tourists and things like that. So we do have that planned, but every year I want to go to IAS. And just in case you don't know what IAS is, it's the International Aeroid Society. It is in September, and it's always in Miami as far as I'm aware. And every year I want to go. Well, last year I couldn't go because I had just gone to the UK. But then this year I will be going to the UK right after. I don't know if I can afford it. And another thing I want to do is next year, I think in April, is it PlantCon? That's in Houston? Question mark? I want to say it's in Texas. I know that it was in Texas this past year. I don't know if it's in Texas every year, but I also know there's like a coffee convention in Texas at around the same time, like mid-April-ish. So I'm like, should I try to go? Maybe I can write it off like tax purposes because I'm there also for work purposes, but that would be really cool. And I also have family in Houston, but then I could go visit the Woohoo Tropicals greenhouse maybe. I don't know, just like all of these things that if I don't prioritize them, there's no chance I will ever go. If I do prioritize it, there's still a chance I wouldn't go because I can't afford it, but at least it's a higher chance. This substrate is really not working with me today. Every scoop that I take doesn't have a good ratio of tree fern and the rest of the stuff. I'm also in like frantic panic mode because we have friends that are coming from the UK to stay with us in like 2 weeks, which I definitely wanted to take time off to do stuff because they're only here for like, I don't know, 10 days or something like that. And they're staying here. We have never had guests stay long periods of time other than the first year we moved here. My boyfriend's mom came and spent Christmas with us. But it's different when it's like family, you know? So I feel like I have so much pressure to clean like every nook and cranny. Not that they would even notice. I know they won't because they're men and they won't notice these kinds of things. Like if you went to somebody's house to stay, you're not going to notice that like one corner of one ceiling has a cobweb on it. But I'm just in full on freak out mode because it felt like it was so far in the future for so long. And now it's 2 weeks away. And also at the same time, can I afford to take time off? My line of work is quite annoying in the fact that like it's good. I have so much freedom. Like it's Monday and I'm just sitting here repotting plants. But at the same time, for those of you who don't know, I am like a freelance coffee consultant as well. And the nature of what I do means that I'm kind of like on someone else's schedule, especially when it comes to opening a location. Construction is always delayed. People have other projects. So I essentially have 4 projects going right now, and I'm repotting plants on a Monday because everything always just kind of gets fallen by the wayside and I can't really schedule it on my terms for the most part. This one is done. I'm nervous about taking time off because I'm nervous about planning ahead to take time off because when it push comes to shove and they're like, we're ramping up now, I have to ramp up with them because I've been waiting for the revenue for so long. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not complaining about it or anything. It's just like trying to plan for the future has been challenging. I'm just so determined to have a really red crystal. I do have a really red crystal. It's stunning. Like the colors are perfection, the one I got from Amanda, but I just struggle to grow that one with like nice perfectly formed leaves. It's funny if you think about it because it's just like crystallinum and magnificum bred, but there seems to be so many problematic ones. Not problematic, like ones that just like I have a Zara F2 cross Michelle F3. That thing grows, as Charmaine would call it. I'll show you right now. This thing looks like road grass. Look at it. It looks so sickly. And this leaf, it almost looks like thrips. I know it's not thrips. I don't have thrips in the tent. I'm not even scared of thrips. This new leaf looks okay, I guess. But like the petioles are so long for such a tiny leaf. And I've had this, well, I mean, I think this seed would have been germinated like, I want to say 3 years ago. Something like that. It's just, this is like a runty plant. And I think maybe it's because like these red crystals are bred over and over and over again. And the occurrence of runts that get sold and like people have issues with, it will be higher because the demand is always there for red crystallinums. It just feels like interesting to think that two plants that typically as the pure species don't give issues. Interesting that there's so many red crystallinums that don't grow as robustly as other hybrids. Ugh, I hate it when I do this. It's okay, it'll even itself out over time, but sometimes I don't think to position it properly. I just think about, I prioritize positioning the roots just so, and then I made it so that I want this leaf to be like this. Not that it really matters, but it's bothering me. I'm not gonna unpot it though. Gray, white. And there we are. I want to do I want to, yeah, I'm going to do this one next because this one's going to go into tree fern soil. This is the Huperzia carinata soy sun. I'm so nervous to see what the roots look like. I have a feeling they're going to be really fine roots. And I have two options. I have this because I wanted to do no drainage, or I have this. It would look better in this, but this would limit me in where I could put it because in my EXO, I have like a wire grid at the back and I have little hanging kind of basket things where I can put plants up like as a shelf. I don't think that'll fit. Let me actually just try it really quickly. It'll sit on the shelf, but it doesn't go all the way down. So it'll kind of make it into the basket a little bit, but it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. So it's going to be kind of like this. But this, yeah, this one will definitely fit, but it's smaller and the chances of me drying this out are a lot higher. So let's just first look at what the roots look like. I'm going to try really hard not to break anything. Don't break any roots. I don't even see roots yet. I don't know what I'm looking for. I have a feeling they're like going to be really fine. This is a plant that can't take, oh, I see some roots. Okay, they're really skinny. They look like Hoya roots. Well, that's terrifying. I might have to keep a lot of this moss ball intact and just pot it in. That's what I did with my Elaphoglossum metallicum, my round 2. I tried it again. The first one I imported did not make it because I did like kind of aggressively remove a lot of the roots because I thought they were dead. But the second time, I kind of kept the moss ball that they shipped it in. I don't know if it was growing in it or what, but whatever couldn't come apart easily, I just kind of kept it on and just potted that whole thing and surrounded it with tree fern soil. I might have to do the same thing again, but I'd like to get the majority of it off if possible. I'm just gonna time lapse this part because I need to concentrate. Okay, you know what? I kind of have this opened like this. You can see some roots here. I can't see roots in the moss, but it's really like stuck on there. And I would actually be breaking something, I feel like, if I was to rip it off. And I just couldn't forgive myself if that's what made this plant not survive in my care. So we're gonna leave this. And The other option is a square pot. I actually feel better about this. I did want to do no drainage, but I can sit this in a deli cup like this. It's not as pretty, but the only thing I'm concerned about is like succeeding with this plant. So we're gonna do that. I just have a feeling it will like tree fern soil, you know? I'm gonna pot it kind of at the front, but because it's new growth, it's kind of pointing that way. I don't want it to grow into the side of the pot, so I'm gonna have to angle it somewhat. Maybe have it slightly higher up, like this. I have like so many cuts on my hand because I was at my mom's house yesterday and it was like, it's starting to feel like summer here, which I'm not thrilled about, but the dogs were out in her garden, which they can't be out in my garden here because we don't have fences on either side of us and we don't have fences. We back onto a forest. So it's just open to the forest on one side. And like we could get fences installed, but it would be like at our cost. It has to be a certain, like it has to be kind of like a, not like trellis, but you know, like the fences that are like a grid, and it has to be white. It has to match the rest of the strata, which is not, I don't know, like I think it'll just ruin it a little bit. Just the point, I guess, when they first designed this neighborhood is that like you're kind of open into the forest, but at the same time the forest can come into you, and there are coyotes in there. So essentially I will never trust my dog's recall well enough that they won't just run into the forest. Doug, I trust a little bit more because he's kind of a pansy and I think he like is scared to be away from us, but a coyote could just come in and snatch them. So Doug has never been in a backyard before where he can just kind of run around, and he was so happy. I know the story is to tell you why I have dings on my hands, but I just want to say like Doug was just like, he was leaping like a gazelle. He was running and like he was so happy. So we were just hanging out in the backyard, and I was just like, well, I might as well just like help my mom out a little bit and do a bit of gardening work. So I was pulling some weeds and my dad was like, no, my weeds. So he wouldn't let me do that. So I went and like I was just going to a garden bed and I was trying to clear out some dead stuff that was from like winter. There's like these vines and stuff. So I was just like, I wanted gardening gloves, but my dad was busy. He was talking to the neighbor. My mom was inside. So I was just kind of like pulling branches and stuff. And I think there were thorns, and I have splinters all over my hands. So it's not the best day to be repotting. That was like the most useless story. I'm so sorry you had to sit through that. Oh my gosh. This plant is a stunner. I am so thrilled about this. I know I already told you guys how thrilled I am. If you guys are on the Woohoo Live and they haven't shown any Hoopersia that day, just ask. They have some beauties. There is another one. I don't even know the name of it, but it's the one that kind of grows a little bit more wild. Okay, let's great white the crap out of it. I'm gonna use all the rest of this, and I'm definitely gonna be keeping a reservoir on this pot pretty much at all times. I'm going to treat this as a fern. Does that seem fair? I'm going to treat it like a fern. Never let it dry out. Kind of keep it on the boggier side. Is that a bad idea? By the time this video goes up, it's not too late. I'm assuming it's not too late to tell me if it's a bad idea to keep it kind of boggy. It's going to be really close to a grow light. I have 2 Barina bars at the top of that EXO, and it's going to be probably like less than a foot away from it. Someone please tell me it's gonna be okay. But yeah, this one's done. I'm very scared. And then we have the little orchid. I'm not gonna lie, I have been looking at orchids to buy. I haven't purchased any orchids, but I'm shopping around. I just want to get my feet wet in terms of just knowing what I'm looking at, essentially. So I don't remember if I know I did say this in the last segment about how I'd read a thing by Here But Not on the care of it. So I know I don't want to grow it in moss because I don't like moss. And the roots are a lot fatter on this because it's an orchid. But I'm going to, I think, make a little bit of a tree ferny mix. So it's not going to go into my anthurium or like my general tree fern soil mix. I'm going to do something. So if I want it to dry out completely, I think my classic tree fern mix that has perlite and pond mixed through would probably work great for it. And of course, I want to put it in a clear pot. I think this will do because it'll take less time to dry out completely. Yeah, let's do that. Let me get my tree fern. I forgot I had dumped the remainder of my straight tree fern in here. Usually I have this mixed with like a bunch of perlite and pond, but that's all at the bottom. It's all at the bottom here and I can't get to it, so I'm gonna just grab some pond real quick. I haven't shown my pond mix in a while, but this is basically what it looks like. It's lechuza pond with coarse perlite and classic grade orchiata, which is actually perfect, I think, for this orchid. I'm just gonna mix it up. Okay, I really thought I added more pond, but it's all basically disappeared. Be right back. Hopefully this will do the trick. Okay, you know what? It probably isn't enough pond, but since now I got in my head that I want it to be like a, not 50-50, but closer to 50-50 mix than I normally do for tree fern, I'm just gonna kind of lightly mix the top and just kind of skim off the top. So it's gonna be more tree fern heavy at the bottom. Does it matter? Does it really matter that I'm saying all this stuff? Do I want to do a reservoir? Not a reservoir, but like a layer. I don't think I need it. Because I'm not going to keep a reservoir on this, but do I want the leca layer to make sure that it never sits in water? Maybe. It doesn't hurt, right? Let's do a little bit at the bottom. Like that. Oh no, I'm hungry. We only have one more plant after this. I've been like aggressively into cucumber kimchi. It's not even like really kimchi. It's like, it's not fermented because I eat it like mixed with all the gochugaru, sesame oil, salt, sugar, a bit of sugar, rice vinegar, garlic. I just mix it up and just like eat it fresh. But I guess I keep it in the fridge for as long as it lasts and it will ferment a little bit in there, I guess. It's not really fermented, but I think about it constantly. I'm just like, oh, cucumber kimchi. Oh my gosh, I'm out of cucumbers. Which also, the cost of cucumbers, just like regular cucumbers. I'm not even gonna like try to go for like the Japanese cucumbers. Just the regular English cucumber. It's like probably 3 to 4 times more expensive than I remember it being. The cost of groceries is just simply uncalled for. And you know what? Something else is really fascinating to me that I'm really curious to watch how it plays out is the fact that Gen Z is kind of the first generation to not be heavy into like the consumption of alcohol as a social setting. I don't know if it's the same where you are. It probably isn't. It probably is not the same somewhere like maybe in Europe where alcohol is like so much more ingrained into the culture. But here, craft breweries are just shutting down left and right. And obviously that's really sad for these businesses. But like millennials are, we're basically trying to just survive and pay to feed our families right now during a recession. But like Gen Z is not going to breweries to hang out. And I don't know if you guys have noticed how much the non-alcoholic sector has taken off, and like the non-alcoholic beers and cocktails and what else? The pops, like every pop company is branching out with like all these interesting flavors, and it has to all be connected, right? It's very interesting to see how, if this keeps up, if that keeps up with Gen Z, and like we have this whole generation coming in that doesn't consume alcohol. Not that it makes any difference to me. I'm not really like much of a drinker because I can't hold my liquor. And I just don't enjoy it. It doesn't feel good because I can't metabolize it very well. I'm just kind of a bystander, observing to see how this will change the entire food and beverage industry. You know what I mean? Because restaurants rely on drink sales so heavily. Okay, so this is kind of the potting situation. I don't know if I potted it too low. I probably should have pushed more of the roots out to the side, but hopefully it'll push out to the side because I know that orchids can photosynthesize through the roots. I don't know. I'm very uncomfortable with orchids just because I don't really understand the anatomy of it, and I don't really understand what it wants. Like, I have grown orchids before, but I never really paid that much attention to it. But this one, I can't really explain why I am so enamored with this particular orchid. I think it is so adorable. And when I look at the bigger plants that are in full bloom, it's not really the type of plant I normally gravitate towards, like pinky purple, Phalaenopsis blooms, like very classic orchid look with these like silvery spotted leaves. But for some reason, it's got me in like a chokehold. And this is actually one plant that I feel like I'm arguably more excited about it than some of the anthuriums. All right, anyways, we're going to Great White Yew. I'm not going to keep a reservoir on you, but I do want to make sure that the tree fern gets fully saturated, and then I'm going to dump out this water in like a couple of hours. I'll just be closely monitoring this growth here to make sure that it's continuing to grow. Other than that, I'll water it only when it's like bone dry. But you know what? I feel like this is the start of a beautiful friendship. Oh crap, I lost track of the time. Oh shoot. Okay, the live sale has begun. Let's see what they got.
We are back. We are in, I think this part was the block conservatory. It's the most beautiful place on the property, I think. This is my personal opinion. It's just wonderful in here. It's beautiful. There's a waterfall. Hello.
It's probably easier for me to just screen record it and show you, but I'm just going to show you little snippets. Everybody is here for the Black Widows. Like, all the comments are like, Black Widow, Black Widow, Black Widow, show the Black Widows. Doug is going nuts downstairs. It's like I'm in my own personal little jungle. So I'm going to just leave this muted here while I do the last plant. I'm just going to gather this moss up because I do only use sphagnum moss for poles every now and then. I'll cut it up into small pieces and I'll mix it with essentially my tree fern soil mix. So that's going to have like tree fern and like soil, perlite, bark and stuff in there. And like that has worked a lot better for me in terms of being able to hydrate my poles. So I will save this and put it in my sphagnum moss bin.
Available, should be available. And everything that is shipping today ships from Miami. So me and Pei flew down here. We're here to sell on this live, and then we're shipping everything tomorrow morning, and we're flying back to Detroit right away. So no combined shipping with everything.
Okay, that was Red Velvet Cake Zara, and they're quite big. This is kind of like the size of the plants that Justin was showing on their live. I just got it muted right now. They're freaking huge. I just really want to see how much the Black Widows are because I do have some credits left. I know it won't cover the whole plant, but maybe I could get one. Anyways, I'm going to put this on my knee. I'm just going to monitor. We got one plant left, which is the Carla. It has like the world's largest tag, but I obviously will be keeping the tag. This mix looks so much like the mix that Amanda uses, which is like very heavy on, I do think this is Orchiata, like classic grade Orchiata. I'm just gonna pour it out. Okay, nice healthy roots. Yeah, this doesn't look like pond. There's definitely zeolite in there, but I think this is like a kind of homemade pond mix. Like this zeolite is way too big to be from Lechuza, I think. Unless there's some other larger grade Lechuza. No, actually there is, but I just somehow I don't think that this is Lechuza. In case anyone's wondering what Rory's mix looks like. It looks like classic grade Orchiata, all sorts of random like size grades of perlite. Did I already say zeolite? Zeolite. And that's it. That's all I can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little thingy of, I'm just going to mix it right on here. This with my tree fern soil mix. So I'm going to just separate this roughly in half-ish. What's the logic behind that? I don't know. That's just what I'm feeling like. But I'm going to add in a bit more tree fern. It's a little bit from my tree fern bin and then just mix it. Oh, I missed the price on it. The nice thing about Palm Street is if you go into the shop link, you can see a history. Like let's say you joined an hour late and you're like, you knew that seller was going to do a certain plant that day and you weren't sure if you had missed it. Usually on Instagram lives, you'd be like, oh, did you already sell the blah, blah, blah? You can just go into this little shop tab here and it'll show what has already been sold. So if you go on the sold tab, there's a red velvet cake. So that one I just showed you, red velvet cake crossed with Zara, that big one, it was sold for $4.95. Someone was telling me on the Discord, on our Discord, that there was like rumblings that there would be a Canadian release of the Black Widow selfs. Because right now, since this is like shipping from Miami, I still have to get it shipped to a PO box and like cross the border and go get it. I just simply don't have the time to do that. And last time, like for these plants, Anna was so kind to do it, but I'm not gonna be like asking her to do it all the time. And she happened to have purchased her own plants off Palm Street. So it kind of worked out, but I just don't think that it's feasible to do that all the time. This is quite a big pot, but if you want to compare it to his pot, the diameter is about the same. It's just like a little bit deeper. I have my other baby Carla from Brendan that he gave as like a, not a replacement, because he missed sending a plant. He gave me a free Carla. So I have that, and it's even slightly smaller than this, and I have it in the same size pot. So I would call this boat mode for like a seedling. Some people hate potting seedlings, but I actually kind of really like it. It's so tiny and so delicate. I mean, I don't necessarily enjoy it while like trying to talk at the same time, but I really like potting up like a whole like tray of seedlings with a podcast in. So this one is now buried up to the top of the stem, and I will just monitor for root growth. I'm not going to make it super wet because I also will not forgive myself if I kill this thing. So I think that one is done. It just needs a bit of great white. Okay, since that original mix was like slightly damp, I really only need a little bit to rehydrate my mix that was dry going, like being mixed into. What am I saying? Just whatever. I didn't need a lot of water because I feel this is pretty heavy. Actually, you know what? I lied to you. My other Carla seedling is not in this. It's in a little, you know, those little square dessert parfait cups. Slightly smaller than this. But you know what? That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, okay. There's Doc Block. Just showed up with his bird.
Hi.
Oh my god.
Oh, so adorable. Have they tasted anthuriums before?
She has. She's gotten the flower 3 within a bag already.
Oh.
Yes, she wouldn't mind doing it, and
Oh yeah, Peaches doesn't like Michelle, the real Michelle.
There's something about birds talking that is so fascinating to me. It's like mesmerizing. I'm just sucked in and I can't stop watching. Every time I come across a reel or something of a talking bird, I'll watch that and I'll get sucked in and watch it like 20 times in a row. Okay, recap time. I think I did all the plants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I literally just showed this Carla. So this one's Carla 1 by 16. Phalaenopsis schilleriana. I'm probably the most nervous about the Huperzia. From my very limited reading up, I feel like this is what they want. My red crystals. Unknown red crystal self. Woo 5 self. Woo 5 crossed with Woo 8. Ace of Spades crossed with Eastern Dressleri. So right now these plants have nowhere to live other than the Huperzia, which is going to go back into my exo. Right now they're going to go back into the bin that they came from and just kind of live in this general area. They'll get Soltec from above and kind of general Barina lights, a little bit of ambient lighting. I actually find that the Soltec light from like all the way at the ceiling down to here can actually grow plants pretty well. But anyway, I'm trying to purge, like I'm at the point where I'm trying to purge some, like just a full-on plant. I'm not even cutting plants anymore. I'm just purging the whole thing to make space for plants because I don't know, like I just have to be a little bit more savage in how I edit my collection and just edit it down to the things that I really, really love. So I've been selling a whole bunch of plants every week at the North Shore Tropicals live sales. So until I clear out some space in the tent, they're going to be living in this bin, but I probably won't even keep the lid on it because they don't really, I don't know, I might keep the lid on it a little bit. Although in saying that, in this tall cup, the lid probably won't even fit on it anymore. But I don't think they actually need to be domed right now because the woohoo plants, they didn't come from high humidity. The Carla will go back into the high humidity dome, and I'm just gonna be checking on them constantly all the time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this haul and repot. I'll leave my Palm Street referral link in the description. It's really a fun app to be on so long as you have self-control. But the really nice thing is that referral program really means that you have the opportunity to rack up a whole bunch of credits and get free plants. But obviously, thank you guys, everybody who used my referral link in the past and was able to make this haul happen. Thank you so much. You didn't have to use my link, you could have used anybody's link. So thank you for using my link. But anyway, if you sign up using that link, that you'll get credits added to your account and you'll have free shipping for I think 3 orders. And they're constantly doing promotions. Like there was just a Mother's Day promotion for 15% off up to $15. So yeah, it's a really fun app and they're constantly adding new features to it and it just performs so much better than Instagram. It's so much more nicer to not have lag. So yeah, thank you guys for signing up using my link, making this happen. Thank you Palm Street for topping me up to be able to buy more plants. I'll obviously be showing updates on the plants, especially on the Hupersia, which I'm very nervous about, and the orchid, which I'm very nervous about. Like orchids to me are so intimidating because it's so vast and it's such a long-standing growing tradition. I just feel like there's so much I don't know. So I'm really excited to just kind of dive into it a little bit with what I have. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you so much and I'll see you in the next one.